And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Tuesday, November 4th. It's a cloudy day, but it's a mild day with temperatures out there in the 40s and 50s across the area. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And if you're watching us online here, we are all in preparation. Bridgette has done a wonderful job decorating the studio here.
A big help from Brad Rivers, who's in our sales group. Brad was here late last night bringing his farm memories and toys in for us.
Yeah. Are you all ready for the big farm show? And for anybody that's not aware of it, what's going on tomorrow?
Okay, so things are coming along. We're pretty much there. It's tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. Like I just have to make one or two little switches and guest names, etc. But tomorrow will be the WDAY Radio Farm Show. We are in fact going to have a theme every hour. So we'll be talking about everything from commodities to, of course, you're going to join us for weather in the noon hour. We're going to go through weather trivia because it's Wednesday. We're going to talk livestock and so much more. And so from 8:30 to 5 tomorrow. Join me.
That's a long day.
It's a long day. Join me. Join our two assistant ag directors who are going to be here to help. That'll be Jocelyn Birkland and Allison Smith. They're from the Barnesville and Enderlin FFA chapters. And just a whole bevy of guests. In fact, I've been essentially as we were coming on air, I was just going through my list of who's all going to be here. And there's a lot. I'm very thankful to have folks like Frayne Olson joining us right off the bat at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, because Frayne brings an unbelievable wealth of information to this region. And he, as an ag economist, has just been stellar in his job for a long time. But we also have folks who are joining us who are in banking, crop insurance, and commodity brokerage. Then we even have an hour in our 1 to 2 o'clock hour where we're going to talk about farmer financial health, investments, and estate planning, and so much more. And so, right now we always think about what has to be done as the next thing. We're finishing combining, we're filling bins, or we're hauling to town. Sometimes we forget a little check of our finances too. So we're going to do some of those things. It ought to be a fun day.
Are you going to be talking about kind of the current situation as well with tariffs and how that's affecting our ag community, or is it really affecting our ag community as much as people think it is?
I don't think you can have a farm show these days without having that discussion.
Okay.
So yes, we are going to. And the real answer to that is in that 9 o'clock hour tomorrow. Is it the same in person as the media portrays it?
I think I know the answer.
Well, I have farmers. Just this weekend, we were at tailgating for NDSU, and I had guys who said, I sold my soybeans and I've made money. So it's not everybody. Right. It's not been stellar. And certainly your margins are razor thin and your input costs have gone up more incrementally every year than your commodity prices have gone up to match that. You're still getting paid the same price for your soybeans as you were 2 or 3 years ago, but all your inputs are up 7 or 8%. So that makes a big difference. Right. I'm looking forward to hearing what they all have to say. If anybody needs a historical reference, I have the 1955 Doan's Agricultural Encyclopedia here in front of us. And it's so funny to look through because the same problems that people were trying to fight then, we're still talking about now.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's pretty neat. That was a gift from a neighbor. I really appreciate Mike giving me that to use today.
Good deal. Well, that'll be a good show tomorrow.
Yeah,
you want to make sure it's all day, so you want to make sure to tune into that. Yeah. And let's hit on the weather real quick because we do have some changing weather coming our way. Not today, though. Today is actually a pretty decent day out there. We're looking at temperatures out there in the 40s and low 50s, and we're looking at temperatures warming up into the mid-50s today. We do have a cold front that's pushing from north to south. That will trigger off a few isolated showers as we head into the late afternoon, mid to late afternoon. Right now, there's a little bit of shower activity out just around the New Rockford area. Again, all that moving kind of to the south and east. So about 4 or 5 o'clock here in the FM area, we stand a chance of a few showers. With mid-50s today, we'll clear things out tonight, dropping off to 30, and northwest winds will pick up about 10 to 20. And then tomorrow, a lot of sunshine and temperatures in the upper 40s, which is still above normal. Normal highs this time of the year are in the mid-40s. Then we bump it back up into the mid-50s for Thursday. And then we have a couple of clipper systems coming our way as we head into Friday and Saturday. The first clipper system drags a cold front through. It'll be dry for the most part. Might see a flurry or a sprinkle on Friday, but I left the forecast dry for now. but highs only around 40 on Friday. And then the bottom falls out as we head into the weekend with highs only around the freezing mark both Saturday and Sunday. Now, the second Clipper system on Saturday does pose a chance for a little light snow shower activity. There's a lot of clickbait out there. Don't buy into it. This is not going to be a big snow event by any means. If you're heading west out towards Bismarck, they could see some minor accumulation from Bismarck off into the northwest corner of the state. But other than that, now, could that track change? Could that measurable snow shift itself eastward into the valley? Very unlikely. There is a chance because this storm is still off the coast. And until it gets inland, once it gets inland, then the computer models get more data, and thus it becomes a little more accurate. But from right now, from what we're seeing, 90% of our models are keeping all of the accumulating snow west of the valley. There's only one model that's trying to bring measurable snow. Now, again, we could pick up a tenth of an inch, but I think the bigger weather story over the weekend is going to be the cold weather with highs only around the freezing mark. And with the wind on Saturday, we'll have wind chills in the upper single digits to lower teens. So if you're going to be going outdoors on Saturday for any football or anything, it's going to be a cold one this weekend. So just be prepared. It's, the coldest weather so far this season is on its way for this upcoming weekend, but it's short-lived. We warm back up into the 40s to around 50 for next week. So the cold won't last long. And, I've getting a lot of people asking about the LRC. What does this look like now for this upcoming winter? And, well, we've seen the first part of the LRC, and that was a record warm October, and predominantly a northwest flow. So that's going to be part of our LRC cycle as we head into the upcoming winter season is a northwest flow. Now, northwest flow in the in the fall is a lot different than a northwest flow in the middle of winter. Northwest flow in the middle of winter is going to give us colder weather than it does in the fall. But it also gives us a rapid up and down, kind of what we're seeing over the last 10 days, up and down, up and down. I think that's going to be one part of the LRC cycle as we head into the upcoming winter with a lot of clipper systems and kind of that roller coaster ride in temperatures. That's one part of the cycle. We'll have to see how these next 2 to 3 weeks unfold to see what the next part of the cycle will be.
Speaking of that cycle, and you'd mentioned hurricanes and so forth down in Jamaica, you had also asked me the other day, what do they have agriculturally?
Yeah.
And I could think of just a couple things off the top of my head, but there is a press release this morning that their ag ministry has not really responded to questions about sector impacts, but that country has more than 200,000 farmers. Now they're all small subsistence farmers. Nobody's looking to buy a 9RX down in Jamaica, right? But they do have a number of folks that are raising livestock, of course, goats and cattle, bananas, melons. They do raise some cocoa there, although the primary source of cocoa for the globe is actually the Ivory Coast in Africa. They are one of the largest yam exporters.
Get out, really?
And it's coffee. Their coffee growers generate about $25 million annually. Now, they're, again, small-scale producers working on 2 hectares or less. They also have small-scale fishing that they're a big part of. So that answers a little bit of the question about what's happening.
And I'm sure that took a hard hit with Hurricane Melissa.
Yeah, they're saying that normally they would use October rains to plant the crop to harvest before Christmas, but now they were told to move equipment out of harm's way, protect everything that they could. Right. So, yeah, this will be a heavy impact, and their recovery time is going to be quite lengthy.
Well, at least they've got the airports open now where they're able to get aid in there.
People are moving around.
Yeah, that's good. Good deal. They'll bounce back.
They will. But yes, that destruction, this is 15 months after they had Hurricane Beryl. That impacted more than 50,000 farmers and 11,000 fishers, and that caused nearly $5 billion in damage.
Whoa.
About 29 now, $5 billion in Jamaican dollars, 29 million in U.S.
Okay. All right.
There's a bit of an exchange rate.
Yes, just a little bit. Just a little bit. And we don't have a cotton picker, but we got a rock picker.
We do.
On our show today.
Yes, we do. We're going to have an opportunity to visit with Brent Lytle. Brent is with TerraClear. I got a chance to meet the guys from TerraClear back in January at an event. And for all of us who lived through the trauma of picking rocks as children, it just got better. And Brent's going to tell us how. So after we come back from the from the American Ag Network's report on livestock, we'll talk more about rocks. Leave no rock unturned when we return. We get the opportunity today to talk about rock picking, but before we even get there, you may have questions about it. And so if you do, you can reach us on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. You can reach us via our emails, which are powered by Superior Grain Bins, and you can do that ag or weather at flagfamily.com. I really hope you're watching the live stream today. We have had a great time decorating for tomorrow's radio farm show.
We need Addison to kind of zoom out there. So.
He has.
Oh,
he
have
did.
you? Okay.
Yeah, so if you can
there
see
we
on
go.
the screen.
Okay, up
I'm
here.
one
There
step
we
ahead
go.
of the game.
There we go. I got you up here on the top right. Okay.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Brad and I were bringing in all sorts of things. I have it from my grandpa's milk can. So that's actually got his name on that cream can in front of us.
Oh, wow.
I have my grandpa-in-law's branding iron. I have all sorts of crop samples. I am very proud of the fact that this, to my left, is my John Deere 4-wheel drive. That's a 9400, pulling a Wysocki disc. Wysocki discs only made about 500 of the toys, and there were 5 in my family, and I'm one of them who got one.
Nice.
So I'm pretty happy with that.
Nice.
So, yes, we will have lots of things. We've got lots of prizes. I have the prizes set up so people can even see what they look like. So that way tomorrow when our interns are helping us, we can pick those off the table and use them for collars. Cool. So it's going to be a good day. Meanwhile, we bring in our guest today, and that is Brent Lytle. Brent is with TerraClear. All right, Brent. Folks are like, okay, the trauma of having to pick rocks. Somehow you're going to make it easier. Where would you like to start in explaining that to others?
Well, thank you for having me on again. We start, I guess, the whole process with our map, and we make that a lot easier by providing them with a map to their smartphone or tablet to go just find the rocks. From there, we actually have service providers up in your area, and we will come pick the rocks up for them if they don't want to deal with it. Sounds like the weather's maybe not that pleasant. So maybe they want somebody to come out in a skid loader and do it for them.
So we start by the fact that we're incorporating new technology. This is a proprietary software, correct? And
Yep.
we're sending the drone out. What's it looking for when it's starting to pinpoint rocks?
So what it's looking for, it's actually all based on computer vision AI, and it's looking for anomalies, things that look different. And then it's been trained over the last 7-8 years here to know what a rock looks like. From there, it pinpoints it with RTK GPS, which I'm sure most of your listeners probably know about. And like I said, then we drive right to them after that.
So when I say what's it looking for, Dad could be fairly specific. You know, any rock needed to go. And this is from kids who we were low to the ground. We could pick them up, toss them in a bucket and I don't mean like a 5-gallon pail. I mean like the loader on the tractor, and someone would go get rid of them. But what's the size variance that the software drone is on the drone is looking for?
So just because of just AI technology in general, it's looking for 7.5 inches or above is what we can actually pick out.
Okay, so we've identified the rocks. But first of all, we'll have to get to the point that sometimes those rocks underneath, it looks 7.5 inches, and by the time you get to it, you need a backhoe. Things change. So we've identified where the rocks are. This all uploads to an iPad. We now send out a skid steer.
Yep.
Okay.
Or you can go out in your Ranger if you want, but those big ones under the ground, you're probably not going to pick up with your Ranger or your side-by-side.
No, you're probably not. But when we're going out with that skid steer, so some questions there. Talk about the bucket design that you have for making sure to pick up on those rocks.
Yeah, so another part of our technology, we're kind of a 3-tiered system. We have what looks like a normal rock bucket, but it's got a big arm on the top of it that will actually reach down with what are tracks from a snowblower, grab the rock individually. And we find that that's a faster, cleaner way to do it. We can get the bucket full every time. I know if they're out picking rocks with their skid loader, they're probably used to grabbing a bunch of stalks or residue. And that's the biggest thing with what we see is we don't get it full of residue, we get it full of rocks.
That's very helpful. Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah, and Brent, is this newer? I'll just say newer technology. Are there other companies that are doing this? And I'm guessing there is. And what makes yours stand out above the rest?
So there is one competitor on the market, and today what really makes us stand out is just the fact that we've been doing this since 2017. We have a little more advanced technology just because of the time and money that we put into training the AI, and just kind of puts us ahead. So really, we're the only company on the market who is commercially doing this today. That I know of at this point.
So when are folks flying that drone? Is this, we're doing it in the spring, we're doing it in the fall. Can you still do it after you have a crop planted and starting to emerge and you haven't had time to do it before?
Early emergence, yes. Honestly, up in your neck of the woods, they are flying like crazy right now. Just it seems like that's the rock picking time in North Dakota. Down here in Iowa, where I'm at, it's 62 degrees today and sunny. Guys are doing a lot of tillage and things like that, wrapping that up. We don't have a lot of fall fly. It just varies on area. What fits the farm better is the biggest thing. The farmer has to decide when they want to pick up the rocks.
And really, okay, so you mentioned service providers. You've got folks that not only are able to take the drone, fly it, find out where the rocks are, but then they can come back out with the skid steer and do the pickup. Can a farmer buy one of those things independent of the other to use for himself, herself?
Right now, the farmers can get on a list. We have sold several of them over the years. But right now we're sold out. So that's a good problem to have. But
No kidding.
they can get on a list to buy the bucket if they so desire. And some of our larger growers will choose to do that. It's definitely, like I said, it's kind of an a la carte thing. What fits your farm? If you want the map to use with your equipment, that's great. If you want the service to come out and do it, that's great too. And if you want to buy the bucket and use it all yourself, we welcome that as well.
How heavy is that bucket on the front of that skid steer? I mean, I'm going to guess it's fairly heavily made, right? So it can take a lot of abuse.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yep. So it's like a little over 2,000 pounds, like 2,200 pounds, with no rocks in it.
Okay.
And like I said before, you can get it clear full every time. So it does take a pretty big, skid loader on that to just to handle it.
well, because nobody wants to have to do a bunch of repairs once you started using this bucket. Now, so they're built rather heavy duty. Does that require you to have a bigger skid steer on the back end of it to manage that weight?
Yes. We recommend an over 10,000 pound skid loader, which is one of the reasons that a lot more of our customers will focus on the map with their existing equipment, or focus on, a service provider coming to work for them.
Sure. And those service providers coming in, that they're the experts in the field, literally. So they're going to be the ones to figure out how to get this all done. Okay. More questions to come for Brent. For those of you who may have them, you are welcome to give us a call again on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. Stick with us. We will continue our conversation with him after the news. New segment starts Friday for Weather and Ag in Focus here from the Coral Laundromat Studio. And that will be with Greg Hansen, Hansen Agri-Commodities. On Fridays, he will be joining us in the 120 segment on Fridays from here forward to do a summary recap of the markets, the commodity markets for the week. Now, I just said that, the 120 segment, and I sort of lied a little, only because we already had a guest booked for Friday, so we're going to bump Greg a little earlier. He's going to start at 110 this Friday, and then we'll go to 120 from there on out. So join us for that. In fact, you'll get introduced to Greg tomorrow. He'll be part of the WDAY Radio Farm Show. And if you are thinking about restocking some fuel, thinking about bringing in more bulk oils, et cetera, because you're getting ready to do some repair work throughout the winter months in the shop, don't forget to reach out to Codeco Fuels. Codeco Fuels and propane will not only make sure your farm can run with those energy sources, they'll make sure your grain dryers are running. And we have had a rash of grain dryer fires in North Dakota. There was another one at Honeyford just last night, this morning, that kind of thing. Farming is dangerous work, and grain dryer fires are not uncommon.
Any particular reason why?
Because stuff is flammable. Honestly, we have grain dryer fires often. It feels like there's maybe more this year, and it could just be coincidence. Maybe we've got some dryers that are a little older. I don't think there's one thing that's really tying that together at this point. But if you're not worrying about your fuel, well, you also might be thinking about getting some drainage out of the way. It's a little damp out there in some fields. So Ellingson Company would like to visit with you about your tile needs. They could help you out, tie some lines together, etc. We're also heavily discussing rocks today. And when I tell people that TerraClear can help remove the PTSD many of us had as children picking rock, I really mean it. I spent a lot of hours in a field picking rocks. And you asked a great question, Dean.
Yeah. So, Brent, is this a one and done kind of operation for anybody that is interested, or is this going to be an annual thing that's going to have to be used?
Well, and I'm sure Bridgette with the PTSD from picking rocks knows. It's definitely a every year thing.
Okay.
And that's why we're priced. Our map is priced fairly reasonably, under $4 an acre for full price. There's some discounts on that. We understand. It's something that you're gonna have to do every year, and we try to help the farmer and keep that in mind as well.
Dean also said, "All right, what part of the country has the most rocks?" And as far as I'm concerned, it was the county I grew up in, but that might be wrong.
You guys are really good at producing rocks in North Dakota. I will say that. Honestly, it's probably a toss-up between North Dakota and Michigan.
Oh, wow.
If I had to guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard you say that you started all of this software, this process in 2017.
Yep.
What was the impetus for that? Was there just someone was so mad they couldn't take it anymore and they had to find a better way?
Yeah. So our founder, Brent Fry, he's from Grangeville, Idaho, and he was out picking rocks with his dad one day and said, "There's got to be a better way than this." And that's where the picker came from. And then once we had a picker, AI was coming on the forefront back then, and why not use that to go out and find them was the real next question. And from there, a business plan was born in January of 2018. We were technically founded. And from there on, we've got software developers, engineers on staff to solve the hard problems.
See, you missed out, Bridgette, on a big investment or opportunity.
This could have been my brainchild. I also have a brother who swears up and down he thought of a squeezy mayo before anybody else put in a squeeze bottle, but he just never got around to doing it. So we are not the fastest at these types of progressive things from McIntosh County, I guess. Tracks on a skid steer. You and I have had this conversation before, Brent, where you can do it if your skid steer is heavy enough, as you mentioned, for the bucket, and you have wheels. But you have a different recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a personal recommendation, and also just kind of if a service provider is getting set up. We do recommend tracks, as we all know. If we do tillage in these fields, they can be rough, and most of that is for operator comfort. Our service providers with tracks are definitely a lot happier at the end of the day and a lot more comfortable at the end of the day when they're done picking and willing to go pick some more rocks again.
Okay, so I just have a comment from a listener. He said, "This is definitely not a one and done. I really wish it was."
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think everybody I've ever dealt with this wishes it was a one and done deal.
So the drone picks up the fact that that looks like a 7.5, 8-inch rock out there. Should be easy. We
Yep.
send the skid steer with the bucket on to pick it up, and then we find out there's a lot more than meets the eye.
Oh yeah, sometimes there's some monsters out there.
So how big of a rock can that bucket get? Can it dig down to remove them, or is this when we start bringing more equipment to the field?
Yeah, so I mean, the bucket itself can pick up to about a 30-inch rock, 400 pounds through the belts.
Okay.
You can pick up bigger rocks than that with the bucket. Been some video waiting on YouTube through some of those farmers that do that. There's some pretty big rocks that we've picked out of their fields. The cool part though is in our app, there's actually a provision. Say you go up to that 7-inch rock or that 8-inch rock, and it turns into just a giant rock.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually click on that dot and you can select it as unable to pick, and it will mark that rock specifically with a different icon. So say if you do need an excavator or a backhoe or something to go out and get it, you're still able to drive right back out to it, but you can't get it with that equipment. And we do that with our service providers too. We just let the farmer know that it's too big to pick, and let them know that they got to go back out and get it with something bigger.
And Brent, we've got an email question from one of our listeners asking, what is the biggest rock that you've had to dig up?
Oh my gosh. That is a really good question. The biggest picture I've seen of a rock, you could probably park 8 skid loaders on.
Whoa.
Large track skid loaders on. It wasn't able to be dug up. It's just the field's name was literally Big Rock. That was what they named the field. But we do have several pictures of that particular rock, and that one's actually from Northeast Iowa.
That's impressive.
Wow. So was it deep enough? Obviously, it was deep enough where it's not going to harm any equipment, or not necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, they just essentially with that one, it was just so large and so buried that they just leave it.
Okay.
And actually, that's where so as far as the rock picking or the service providers go, we asked the farmer to mark a rock pile location in the field, and from there, they marked that rock pile location. That was actually where the rock pile location was the Big Rock field.
So what if you're not a farmer? Maybe I'm throwing out a different business idea here, but let's say you're a landscape company and you need rock for riprap and decorative purposes, etc. Could you get one of these buckets in the software and then just start harvesting your own rocks with landowner permission?
We have a few of our reseller partners or service provider partners who are landscapers,
Mm-hmm.
And they will take the rock with them. Normally, we don't take the rock with us. That's a deal between the farmer and the service provider. But we do have a handful who will buy the rock off the farmer.
Addison, I had a listener request if you can show a picture of the bucket, and I know you have the website up, so if you could go to that on our live stream, please. People would like to see what that bucket looks like. Then also for you, Brent, can that bucket be used for anything else besides rock? I mean, have you seen some inventive ideas with it?
I'm sure somebody's gotten creative with it. I have not personally seen them.
Okay.
I have heard guys try to rip stumps out. We do not recommend that.
Oh, okay.
If things are anchored into the ground, that is one of the pitfalls, I guess. As a rock is loose in the ground, you can actually get it out, but stumps don't work very well.
Got it. And then lastly, what's new and coming within TerraClear? Are you looking at improvements or changes to the buckets, or have we found all of those, or what might be the next best thing?
Well, I mean, the bucket part, we're getting it figured out on reliability.
Mm-hmm.
We had very little downtime this last spring with the new attachment, which the one shown in the video is is our previous one, but it's definitely, you know, a very similar design as far as that goes. But we have limited downtime with that. The biggest thing that we're looking at in the future is, you know, how can we use our AI technology from the map to do other things? Obviously, it's always evolving. Our rock, you know, just rock mapping technology is getting better. But the next project essentially is to go out with either a drone or a ground-based mapping unit and map out weeds, identify those weeds. You know, the next hope is diseases and insects and all kinds of things that you can see with high-resolution imagery like we collect.
I had a listener question come in from another state actually, and this farmer said, did Brent say they want a clean pass of tillage of the drone, or what's the best way for the drone to see the rocks? Does it still work in no-till?
We find lower residue crops, like, you know, potentially soybeans and wheat, that we
Mm-hmm.
can get away with it in no-till. We're gonna miss a few under the residue. Um, I do not recommend it in no-till corn stalks just because there's so much residue that it covers the rocks, and we do have to see them from the air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does make quite a bit of sense. Okay, that helps
Yep.
out. So, all right, Brent, it's been a great discussion. Thank you. You've had lots of
Yeah,
listener
thanks for having me
interest.
again.
Anytime. All right, so I think it's time to hit some headlines after a
Yeah,
little time off.
let's take a little break, and when we come
Okay.
back, we'll recap the weather. Bridget's got a couple of ag headlines, and she'll, if you missed it off the top of the show, she'll kind of recap about what's coming up tomorrow, our big ag show
Mm-hmm.
here on WDAY all day long. We'll have more on that after the break. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:50 in the afternoon, and we have a cold front that's approaching the area, but out ahead of it, we're in the mid-50s right now, 55 degrees. It's really a nice afternoon. If we had sunshine, it'd be better, but hey, we'll take it. Anytime you get mid-50s, start in November. Now, there is some light rain on radar stretching from about Devil's Lake. That becomes moderate rain around New Rockford, and that stretches south to just west of Jamestown, all of that moving eastward. So as we progress throughout the rest of the afternoon, by about 4 o'clock, we'll start to see some of those enter the valley. So keep that in mind if you have any outdoor plans. This evening could get a little wet. And then behind that, we'll clear things out tonight. Winds turn to the northwest, dropping off to about 30. And then tomorrow, well, we'll cool down a bit. We'll see a lot more sunshine tomorrow, upper 40s, which is still pretty nice. And then back up into the mid-50s Thursday, and we start to see the colder weather arrive on Friday. That's stage 1 with temps around 40, but stage 2 arrives over the weekend. That's going to be the big weather story, is the cold weather that arrives this weekend. It's not record-breaking or anything like that, but it is the coldest air we've seen so far this season, with highs only around 30. We'll have wind chills. Yeah, we bring that dreaded word back in the forecast. Wind chills on Saturday, probably in the upper single digits to lower teens. So if you have any football games you're going to, either Friday night or Saturday, it's going to be a cold one. And we'll see a little bit of light snow as the Clipper system rides by Saturday morning. Right now, I'm not seeing anything in the way of accumulation outside of a dusting, maybe up to 1/10 of an inch. Again, 90% of our models are keeping all the accumulating snow out to our west. Could that change? It could, because the system, again, is still out in the Pacific. So once it gets inland, which should be Thursday, then our models get much better data, and we'll have a more exact track. But right now, it looks like any really accumulating snow, and even that won't be that much, an inch or two, will fall out to our west around, let's say, northwest corner of the state through Bismarck and then down through South Dakota. So, and again, it's not a big storm by any means, but we'll see our first flakes of the season, and we'll see the coldest air of the season arrive. But as I said earlier, it's not going to last long. We already warm back up into the 40s to low 50s as we head into next week.
Well, and that it's unusual for the fall, but people are going to welcome it.
Yeah.
It'll turn out fine.
Yeah. And, looking back on last year, and I'll have an article on this last year. I'll have an article on this tomorrow, comparing last year up to this point. What did the LRC cycle look like? We'll compare last year to this year. And you might think, well, it's been pretty similar. It really hasn't. It has not at all. Oh. And so I'll break that down tomorrow. I'll have an article out on our website breaking down what this year opposed to last year up to this point in the LRC cycle, how it compares.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Well, the sustainable aviation fuel developer is shifting its immediate investment from South Dakota to North Dakota. The company added that it is still hoping to develop its South Dakota site, but GEVO, which is Colorado-based, has obtained a $1.4 billion loan through the U.S. Department of Energy to build a jet fuel plant at Lake Preston, South Dakota. And so what they are now looking at doing is moving those dollars to a Richardson, North Dakota site to continue to make sustainable jet fuel. And GEVO's been working with the Department of Energy to get that transfer done. They want to expand what they have for an ethanol plant at Richardson. That's one of our state's first ethanol plants, and that would convert the ethanol into jet fuel. Carbon capture is the key part of all of this, is what they're trying to do.
Good.
Also, as we use more and more technology, that pairs with video cameras and artificial intelligence that's making it easier to manage hoof health and prevent lameness in livestock. So it's hard to consistently identify early, but a smart sight camera can catch the signs of a hoof problem and lameness, like even weeks before you as a rancher with your naked eye can tell that on the animal. So it allows the hoof trimmer to do more maintenance and less treatment. And it helps to make sure, when it's like us, when you don't feel well, if you're limping, things aren't going well, it's the same thing for an animal, right? They don't age well. They're less productivity, that type of thing. So the cows can move very freely. They're going to tie this into an existing ID system on the farm, but these smart cameras are going to be pretty good. They have a brain box that gives a locomotion score on the animal, and then the AI continues to refer back to see what those issues might be.
Wow.
Hoof trimmers, that may be something It's been a while. When we first started doing this show about 3 years ago, we had Nate, the hoof trimmer, on. He's out of Wisconsin, primarily focuses on dairy animals. When you start watching his videos, like on YouTube, you can't look away. It's crazy. So I have debated, might want to call Nate and ask him if he can come back and do something with us again.
That'd be cool.
As his business has changed and grown. But when people think that, that hurts, right? Well, for him, trimming their hooves is a lot like us cutting our fingernails.
It's got to be done.
Got to be done. If you go too deeply, that's going to sting. But he works specifically with dairy animals, and it's wild. He just takes a grinder, like a metal grinder that you would use in the shop, and starts out with that, depending on what he sees when he lifts that hoof. But it's pretty fascinating.
Now, are livestock, are they, and I'll use an example. When I had to do my dog's nails.
Right.
Oh, mine didn't like it. Trying to pull away. Are livestock the same way, or are they a little more mellow? Hey, yeah, let's do this. This is going to feel good.
They're probably a bit more mellow, especially if it happens on a regular basis and they know what that is.
They're used to it. Okay.
And they're usually in a stall with a head gate, so they can't move around a whole lot. And technology has certainly advanced where you now have kind of these little metal lifters that the leg fits in, and it'll lift the leg up. So then it's almost like a little footrest, and so the animal can have her foot up in the air, and kind of takes the pressure off, and she can't really move. So it goes pretty smoothly.
Okay.
So that helps. Horses have been being trimmed for years by farriers, and they generally are just bent over, and it is excruciatingly tough on your back. And I just noticed sheep shearers. Some of these guys have what looks like a suspended, almost like a rock climbing harness that suspends from the roof, because then they don't have to put all that pressure on their legs and back. They can kind of lay in that harness and still balance themselves and be able to flip the sheep over and do the shearing with less damage to their own bodies.
Oh.
I mean, those jobs are very physically demanding. It's very tough on you.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just happened to see that recently, that you can do that now with sheep shearing.
Cool.
So, never know. Maybe.
And AI, I'm sure, is going to help down the road with this. Would you say?
I would. When you're looking at lameness and you want to spot those things like in hoof development, where you want to get your hoof trimmer there sooner rather than later. Same with, horses. They're on kind of a regular schedule. It also depends if you're on concrete in a pasture.
Right.
What the normal wear patterns are for those animals too. I mean, you got to do maintenance on them like anybody else. If you're doing show cattle, you give them a bath.
Right.
So
wow.
fluff them and buff them, dry them out.
Learning something new today. Everything from rocks and trimming and
we do. And just think of the things that we will be learning tomorrow. Again, tomorrow is the WDAY Radio Farm Show. We'll be on from 8:30 to 5 o'clock tomorrow. We have a whole bevy of guests, and every hour has a slightly different theme to it. Like I said, livestock equipment. I'm kind of looking forward to equipment because we're not only going to talk about short line equipment, but strip tillage, drones, all sorts of things in there.
And if you have any questions, feel free to call on the show too as well.
Ken, 701-293-9000. That's the JLA insurance phone line.
All right. Well, for Bridgette and myself, I want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. Don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show, that's coming up next.